Hi everybody, welcome to the Tech Talk on our latest Hangar 9 release, the Pitts S-2B, I believe.
S-2B, yes.
I'm here today with the creator, if you like, our product developer for this particular project, Mr. Gary Wright. Gary, thanks for being with us and talking about your latest design. Sure. A lot of interest in this, understandably. Pitts is like an iconic model aircraft, full-size aircraft, but also model aircraft. Maybe some back history before we go into the technical side of it. Why did we choose to make the Pitts?
Well, it's, in my mind, one of the most beautiful aerobatic airplanes ever envisioned. And as you said, it's iconic. It's been around forever. Everyone knows the look of the Pitts. Everyone likes the look of the Pitts.
Cool, yeah, great job doing it. It looks superb. I know it flies superb. A little bit of technical details. We won't go into the specifics because on the website there's all the weights and dimensions and so forth, but maybe some more background story. I was involved in this project as we're both Hangar 9 developers, and I saw what you had to do, and maybe some people aren't aware of what you had to do to make it, while still looking like a Pitts, not flying like a Pitts, right?
Right, exactly. The Pitts has some well-known characteristics that are not quite desirable for modelers, so we tried to design those out. This is the S-2B version, which in my mind is the prettier version. It has the longer canopy for two pilots, and that also gives you some benefits as a model because it makes a longer fuselage.
Gotcha.
And then we stretched it just a little bit more to get the tail moment a little longer and a little larger tail surface areas.
So I remember the first prototype was more of a scale outline, so a smaller fin, smaller rudder, shorter fuselage.
That's right.
Now it's very hard for people to see the two differences, but the flying change was incredible, right? The ground handling, the tracking and so forth, so well worth doing.
Yes, as you've put many times, it's a Pitts that doesn't fly like a Pitts.
Yeah, that's the best way I could describe it when I was helping Gary with the evaluation and test flying. I've flown many Pittses in the past, and whilst they're beautiful to look at, sometimes they can be a handful. In fact, most of the time they can be a handful. Right. This one isn't like that, right? It's more like your favorite extra or yak to fly.
Exactly. It tracks straight on the ground. It lands well without a lot of bouncing.
Cool, well, good job there. Another thing I remember we discussed was the versatility and power system, and I know that's your forte with the electric system, so give us some background on how you picked the size and so forth for the power system.
With electric systems, I can configure a power system to fly just about anything. So the gas system really dictated the size.
Okay.
And the DLE-60 twin was sort of the largest, the physically largest engine that we wanted to target. So the airplane was sized around fitting the DLE-60 twin.
Awesome.
It just fits into the cow.
And that's really nice because it means you need no nose weight, correct?
No nose weight.
Which is super rare for a Pitts. Anyone that's owned a Pitts and hears us saying that there is not a gram, an ounce of nose weight in either of these will be surprised, and that's a lovely thing. Versatility. So with the, as you say, the DLE-60 twin is quite a broad engine with the plug caps. It's like 280 mil or something like that.
It's a very wide engine. So it just fits into this cow. The plane was designed specifically around that engine.
But power-wise, I mean, it's so light. What does it weigh?
18 pounds with the DLE-60 with the lightest setup in it.
So that's like 35cc territory, really. I mean, the power system that this plane needs, 35cc would be more than enough.
I'm absolutely certain a 35cc would fly it, and fly it well, probably better than scale.
So a single cylinder 50cc, which there is abundance of them out there, would be really good for this. You could mount that inverted, sideways, still foot all inside the cow. Yep. And more importantly for me, because this is the engine I want for this, I checked yesterday, the Sato 60 twin four-stroke will fit with nothing sticking out.
I believe it's a 61.
Sorry, 61.
Yeah.
That's going to be incredible because you'll not only get that beautiful sound, swing a scale prop, really clean exhaust, but nothing cut on the cowling, which to me is
exactly. It'll fit all inside. The Sato twin cylinder four strokes are the first thing I've heard in 20 years that kind of makes me want a gas airplane.
Gary, for those that don't know, is a very, very much advocate of electric flight. He's famous in the electric flight community for the work that he's done. So maybe with that segue, talk to us some more about the, I forget this one. This one's the electric one.
The electric one.
Tell us about the power system in there.
The power system in here is a rimfire 50cc. It's a 44-ounce motor, or 42, I forget, excuse me. We're spinning a 2010 Zor electric propeller on it on 12S5000. For those of you that are electric inclined, It draws around 130 amps, give or take a couple amps depending on the battery quality. That's peak, but in the air the average is in the 30s.
It's crazy.
So it's got crazy power at full throttle, but you rarely ever need full throttle.
And there's enough space in there, right? We haven't done it in the models we have here, but you could put 2 parallel quite easily.
You could easily put 2 parallel packs in there. Even with the largest batteries in there, 12 S7000s, which is 2 6S7000s, they fit side by side in the battery tray, and there are several inches to move them fore and aft, and
Awesome.
there's room above and below.
And just for those listening, what's your average flight time on a 7,000 milliamp 12S setup?
Anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes.
So good, decent flight time. Now I remember when we were again working on this, you went and increased the control surfaces a little bit, right? But it's not meant as a 3D plane per se.
It's not a 3D airplane. The Pitts, this version of the Pitts was never a 3D airplane anyway. But it's a beautiful scale aerobatic airplane. There are 3D airplanes all over the place.
Gotcha.
Take your pick.
Yeah, no,
I needed something else.
I'm super happy you did that. It was a discussion we had earlier on in the development, and it could have gone that route, but no, having it as a more scale aerobatic airplane has worked out really well. And on the subject of scale, the color scheme was a strange coincidence of terms, but we won't go into that right now, other than to say it's a authentic color scheme that we've got the licensing for from the owner in the UK to use. Maybe you can tell us some more.
It's Rich Goodwin Air Shows. He's well known in the UK, a very famous air show pilot over there. This is a model of one of his S-2Bs, and as we found during development, after I had picked this scheme, I had no knowledge of this beforehand. There was a picture online of Mr. Machinchy standing beside Rich in front of the full-scale airplane.
Yeah, I'd actually flown in it. I'd forgotten totally. About 6 years ago, I went to do some promotional work with Rich when we released the little E-Flight Pitts.
Yeah.
So I was like, Rich, can I get some pictures of you with the Pitts? And he said, yeah, come on, let's go for a flight. And yeah, when Gary picked this scheme, totally unbeknown to me, I was like, that looks familiar, that plane. So yeah, it was a strange coincidence. Just for those watching, it has been brought up in question before. The RGA stickers are Rich Goodwin Air Shows. They are just stickers, they're not permanent. So if you choose not to put those on, you can do that and have it more like the iconic, what was the Red Devils display team, I think is this?
I believe Red Devils, yeah.
And also the registration on the side is a removable sticker if you wanted to go that route. Sorry.
Yes, it's removable, but it's or a cover.
Okay, and you could put your own N number in there if you so wanted. Pilot is another question that came up. Does that come in the kit?
The pilot figure does not come in the kit, but if you look under the optional parts for the model listed online, you will see this pilot figure.
Awesome.
We're selling this pilot figure specifically because of this airplane.
Another thing that I've heard made mention of, which I've seen you demonstrate really well in the many times we've been to the field together, is the space needed to transport this aeroplane.
Right. The wings come off. There are 2 pieces to each wing. They plug in with a wing tube. So there's really 4 wing panels. However, if I wiggle it around just right, I can get it in the back of my F-150. All in one piece.
So the bed of a modern large SUV, a Tahoe, a Suburban,
you should be able to get it in there.
Cool. And de-rigging it, there's no flying wires, so it's actually very quick to assemble at the field.
There's no flying wires. I did put 2 thumb screws on each of the wing panels.
Oh, awesome.
One is secure enough, but with 2, you eliminate any of the wiggle that develops over time on a wing tube airplane.
Wonderful. Super quick to rig, I like that. Toolless assembly, I like that even more. Huge cowling, as we've discussed earlier on. Another aspect that has been brought up is the access. We've had Pittses in the past where the access to the internals has been limited, where just the canopy removed. You, from the get-go, were insistent that we have a lot of access. Maybe.
Well, I think electric. I don't think gas. So access for here, I wanted a lot of access for the radio equipment, but primarily a lot of access for the batteries.
Gotcha.
So the hatch is actually removable on these. There are 2 spring latches that come off.
Wonderful.
So you can see inside. Lift it up a little bit for the camera there.
Got it.
And then there's a secondary hatch that slides out and opens up the huge battery tray area.
That's a really cool touch, because otherwise you'd having to be only access would be from the back, which you could do, but it's much easier to tighten the Velcro straps.
Right. I've done that on many planes, and you get into some strange positions trying to tighten the straps.
And it's not just electric. I mean, for the gas installation, your access to the fuel tank, your assembly, disassembly, having that huge hatch is such a plus point. Yeah, it's cool. It's super cool.
I've heard several questions about canisters. I know in certain
exhaust
areas,
canisters, you mean?
Exhaust canisters. It's very important to be very, very quiet.
Yep.
While this was designed around the DLE-60, we opened a very large area below the fuel tank so that you could put canisters in there. We have not fitted them, but there's plenty of area. It would take a little bit of modeler skill for the exhaust and all, but there's room to put canisters in.
Gotcha. Or just put a Sato 61 in there and you want the noise. So.
Yeah, exactly, because it sounds beautiful.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Gary, for taking the time to talk through the plane with me. I know about it. I've known about it since you started developing it, and it's one that I've really enjoyed watching come to fruition. And it's converted me from a guy that liked the look of Pitts but doesn't like flying them to one that actually wants one as a flying airplane. So
you said that on the very first flight.
Right. Maybe without further ado, we'll get either one of them or both of them up and flying and just do a talk through of some flying.
Okay, that sounds good.
Cool.